Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about the new Weyes Blood album, Titanic Rising. Weyes Blood, aka Miss Natalie Merring, is a California-based indie pop star. She's been around a few years now. First time I caught wind of her was around her 2011 debut, The Outside Room. It was a very pensive and pretty patience-testing debut, honestly. But while I did find some of it on the boring side, I felt like if you sat with most of it, it actually led to some pretty interesting moments. Her vocals here, more often than not, were very stark, very haunting. And up against these very psychedelic instrumentals, it was actually pretty interesting. But while it was intriguing, there was nothing to really grab me and make me a Natalie Merring fan. But 2014's The Innocents was much more concrete. It's a very lush, very pretty indie pop album that just seems much more focused overall. Not to mention, Natalie just seemed to be on a completely different level than where she was on her debut. And 2016's Front Row Seat to Earth just showed Natalie really break out and come into her own as an indie pop star. This was an absolutely gorgeous and sweet indie pop album. It showed Weyes Blood working with catchier hooks and warmer vocals than ever. There was even a subtle, throwback singer-songwriter vibe that I even ate that up. So it's been a few years since we've heard from her. She also had that EP that she did with Ariel Pink a while back that people were super critical of. I thought it was fun. But Natalie's back with some of her most cosmic and truly progressive tracks to date. Let's chat about this thing. Right off the bat, I just have to say, a lot of this album is just truly flooring, beautiful indie pop. This album starts off with "A Lot Is Gonna Change." And instantly, I have to say, this track is incredibly beautiful. It's a little campy with the synths, like occasionally they do get a little over the top. But let's be real, once everything else pops in, like those pianos, this is beautiful. And Natalie's voice has literally never sounded better than it does right here. Now, she has come a long way since her early, very experimental vibes. But truth be told, I simply can't be in a bad mood once this track really gets rolling. It's warm, it's beautiful, and once again, that sort of throwback singer-songwriter vibe is in effect. The instrumentals are very deep, very sunny, and I just can't help but just eat up all of these positive vibes. But I do have to say, deep down, there still is a very experimental vibe to it, a very progressive feel to this. Just what an introduction overall. This is a great intro. Now, I really love just how cosmic and out there a lot of this album comes off. Take, for example, Andromeda. This is just such an otherworldly track that's completely brought back down to earth with Natalie's very chilling vocals. I love the psychedelic rhythms here and just how chilling Natalie's vocals come off at times. And the vocal layering, my God, is that a nice touch. But interestingly enough, underneath all of this, there is a very human feel. Most notably, there's just this sense of longing, sense of missing someone deep down, and that is beautiful. Later on in the album, I love Mirror Forever. This track just has such a sense of mystery to it, a sense of grace that I can't help but eat up. And once it gets going, it's just so graceful. It's such a chilling tune. When we get to this chorus, it's absolutely gutting just how much this one cuts deep. Natalie's vocals, to me, have never sounded more on point. And I feel like for the first time in her career, she really has found the perfect medium between a more progressive, experimental sound and her sort of indie pop, Baroque pop vibes. And while this may be a stretch, or maybe just me, I do sort of get that vibe that she was going for on that EP that she did with Ariel Pink a few years ago, in that sort of medieval vibe underneath all this. And a good portion of the rest of this album is just simply put, truly beautiful Baroque pop and indie pop that I just can't be mad while it's on. We get Every Day early on in the album, and why am I practically getting Harry Nilsson vibes from this? Trust me though, I mean that in the best way. I love the old school sense of storytelling to this track. Over the years, Natalie has just come such a long way when it comes to songwriting. It's actually pretty wonderful. There are some wonderful Baroque pop vibes, and I love how visual this track is. Not to mention, even though some are a little weird at points, I just can't help but feel like this is just such a lovely track at the end of the day, and some of the lyrics are genuinely heartwarming. Like, in the middle of all these very surreal, progressive pop tunes, it's just nice to hear some of these. And this absolutely gigantic cinematic finale, yes please. On the other hand, Something to Believe is a very pleasant little ballad. It's certainly one of the more stripped down tracks here, but Natalie's performances are so larger than life that this one comes off very nice. Once again, I can't help but love just how visual some of her lyrics are, and this chorus is easily one of the catchiest of the bunch. There are also some subtle nods to folk here, which we'll hear later on again, something I can really get with. And once again, this may sound cheesy, but this track just warms my heart. It's beautiful. And for a folkier sound, once again, Picture Me Better really just hits the spot. It's a very delicate track, but it's just as strong as far as songwriting goes. And oh my lord, some of Natalie's falsettos here. What an unbelievably powerful voice. This is absolutely one of the more straightforward tracks of the bunch, but it works really nicely. And Titanic Rising as a sort of interlude halfway through, it's not the most jaw-dropping or stunning little interlude, but it actually does a lot for just continuing on the pace of the album, bringing one idea to the next. Now, there are like one or two tracks here that I just kind of think are a little meh. For one, we have Movies, which is easily my least favorite track of the bunch. It's also one of the most busy tunes here as far as an instrumental goes. Now, Natalie's performance is actually pretty spot on. It's just as sweet, it's very beautiful. But structurally, this one just took a real nosedive and is one of the least captivating here. Like, instrumentally, I'm just so much more into the more lavish side of this album. And while I did sort of like the folk elements on other tracks, Wild Time doesn't really do it for me. This one goes down a little bit more of a folktronica route, almost, and you would think that that actually would come off really good for Natalie. Like, there are certainly sweet moments, but I feel like Natalie just seems a little unsure of herself here and in the direction she wants to take this one. Thankfully, she does save this track just a little bit with just how far she's come as far as songwriting goes. Outside of that, though, this isn't nearly as floor-stopping as some of the other tracks here. But as an instrumental finale, Nearer to Thee is pretty sweet. Like, it's not exactly the most ridiculous thing here. It's only about a minute long, but it's very sweet as a finale and very beautiful. It puts a smile on my face. So, yeah, I think in a lot of ways, this is Natalie's best project under the Weyes Blood name. I think her songwriting has gotten better over time, and I think that she's really found the perfect balance between this more experimental side and a more accessible side. Like, sure, some of the folkier elements don't come off as good, and some of the busier tracks here are a little meh, but still, this is a very stunning, very beautiful, very cosmic indie pop and Baroque pop record. If you're a fan of Weyes Blood, absolutely check this out. I'm feeling a light 8 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, as always, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you guys would like for me to chat about in the future. Until next time, have a great day, guys.